As a minister in charge of Megapolis and Western Development, I would like to say that we have embarked kind of a project that will transform the entire built environment in this country, which is very suitable to transform our economy towards the knowledge-based economy. That's our aim, and these two things, these two parallel schemes, one side it's the change or transformation of the built environment, other side it is to transform our economy into a knowledge-based economy with innovation-driven strategy. So you are the planners, you are the creators of the built environment. So I think this topic is very much suitable for you all. When we talk about the state of affairs of this country, always we are talking about the negative aspects of our economy or our society at large. You can say our country is a debt-ridden country, or development or the corruption-stricken country, or feel like leaving the country. You know, in our country, the 15% of the population now living in other countries. 30% of the professionals passed out from our universities now living in other countries. So they feel like leaving the country, especially among the younger generation, because we have criticized our own country for a long period of time about all these things. But in fact, we have achieved a lot. We do have positive aspects of our society, especially when we consider the social aspects or the social indices of this country. For example, the life expectancy. We are very close to the United States as far as the life expectancy is considered. You know, our life expectancy is now around 80 years. It's very close to the United States of America. It's a first-class country as far as the life expectancy and the health system, the universal health system we have adopted is concerned. Another thing is our education and our, you know, this education, the primary enrollment and literacy rate, including the computer literacy. We are far ahead with the other countries in this zone, in this South Asian region. And also when we consider the HDI ranking, the Human Development Index, we are ranked among the, I think we are ranked among the middle income territory, and our rank, our score is around 0.77, and it's very close to the Cuba. You know that a few decades ago, all the young people tried to establish a socialist society here without class, all are equal, and trying to be a Fidel Castro's. But now, after 5 decades of independence or the revolution led by Fidel Castro, the Cuba and Sri Lanka enjoyed same human development index. It's 0.77, right? And then this carbon emission. We all now experience the bad consequences of the global warming. One side it's drought, other side it's flood, the stress, what we call it water stress, and deglaciation, sea level rise, and intrusion of brackish or salinity water, and all these problems we are now having. And it's a great threat to the biodiversity, and it's now it is being we are as human beings are being threatened. It's a mere existential problem for the human beings in the next 2 millenniums, next 2 centuries time, right? But when we consider the main cause of this global warming, the carbon emission, we are the most carbon emission country in the middle income territory. Our emission level, per capita emission level is very low, still very low after the induction of petroleum coal plant most people believe that our per capita carbon emission went up, but it's still very, very low, in a very, very low level, rank among the first in this region. And the innovation index, we are not faring very good. We rank among fourth among 9 countries around this thing, but we have to improve this thing. This is where we failed the economic aspect of the society or the country. We are ranked there in the middle income territory. Our per capita income is just around 4,000. When we talk about the purchasing power parity, we are around 13,000. It's a big amount. But as far as the other countries are concerned, the Asian countries, the Singapore, South Korea, Malaysia, China, Thailand, they are far, far away, and they may be considered as a developed country as far as we are concerned and our economic situation is concerned. Let's see what kept us behind in this economic development. This is the debt trap that we are now in. You know, if you consider the 1959, if you consider the per capita GDP growth and the per capita debt growth, the per capita GDP growth compared to the 1959 level, we have achieved 29 times from 1959. But our debt rate is 77 times. That's the problem. The debt could not be translated into a economic growth. And move to the next thing, and this is what increased our debt. The debt is not a problem. What is the problem is a composition of our debt. This is the problem. In 2005, our commercial debt is around 4%. Now it is 55%. For example, now we got JICA loan for the development of LRT line from Kaduvela to Peta. It's 1.8 billion US dollars at a rate of 0.1%. But recently, we have resettled a commercial loan, and we got 2.4 billion from the commercial markets at a rate of 8%. At a rate of 8%. So you can see the debt composition is now challenging. It's a kind of a threat to our economy. For example, this year, now the budget debate is going on. This year, the capital expenditure is around 700 billion, whereas we have to pay, the debt repayment is around 2,200 billion, 2.2 trillion. That means when we spend a rupee for the development, to develop roads, to develop railways, to develop urban areas, we have to pay 3 rupees as our debt repayment. That's the problem now we are facing. And great saying by the Argentinian president. Argentina was declared as a bankrupt country in 2014, right? And the new president came and somehow he salvaged the country, and saying that you throw a party, borrowing money, right? Eat, drink and dance, but there is a day called tomorrow to repay. That's the problem, and the day has come for Sri Lanka. We have to repay what we have borrowed, and we party, eat, drink and dance, but the day has come to repay all these debts. And our problem is that we increase our debt and also our borrowings were not wisely invested on viable projects and considering ROI or any other economic gains. This is because of the popular political projects. especially we called it populism. The cheap populism actually led us to this debt trap. As far as the World Bank and the IMF categorization, you can see the low income means less than $1,000 per person. Lower middle income is 1,000 to 4,000, and upper middle income territory is 4,000 to 12,000, and high income is about 12,000. And Sri Lanka surpassed this low income level in 1998, and we have become a middle income country from that, and now it is 2 decades time. And when we are going to achieve this 12,000 mark, it's around 2050, right? If we adapt this business as usual scenario, Sri Lanka will reach that level by 2050. That's why our Megapolis plan and the national physical plan is now trying to achieve this thing by at least 2035. By way of proper designing of our urban planning, and also proper designing of our built environment, also other infrastructure developments like electricity, water, sanitation, the transport systems, communication systems, and things like that. So, the real questions in front of us, you can see these figures, these charts. You can see other countries like Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. In 1960, you can see the Korea, Taiwan, and Sri Lanka, their per capita income is almost equal. But now, these countries far ahead compared to us. Why? Sri Lanka is trapped inside what we call this middle income trap. So, why do we still remain poor at this middle income level? Where did we go wrong? What is the way out? This is the problem, this is the question, this is a crisis we have to face and solve. As far as our economic strategies are concerned, before 1977, before the liberalization of the economy, we are trying to do an economic strategy called import substitution. Sirilakade, Sirisapade. Trying to, produce everything here, the import substitution. After the liberalization in 1977, we tried to implement a strategy called factor-driven growth. That means reliance on our cheap labor, reliance on exports with little technology inputs, for example, garments, and reliance on poor environmental laws, poor labor laws, and also favorable markets there in the Western countries. Also the traditional exports like tea, rubber, coconut, expansion of free trade zones, now no longer feasible. The main reason is now we don't have cheap labor here. That's the main reason, and so we can't now apply or implement or furthering of this strategy of factor-driven economy. For example, in India, approximately 200 million unemployment people. Bangladesh, around 60 million. So our own, apparel sector entrepreneurs now moving into these new places where the cheap labor can be found very easily. So this is the man, the David Ricardo, who coined in 18th century. He coined two concepts. One is called the absolute advantage of a country. Other thing is called the comparative advantage, or the comparative or the competitive advantage of the country. What is absolute advantage? For example, you know that the oil producing countries, Saudi Arabia or Russia, they have absolute advantage over non-oil producing or non-gas producing countries. And what is this comparative advantage? For example, Sri Lanka enjoyed comparative advantage over other countries in tea production before 1980s, and Sri Lanka enjoyed comparative advantage over other countries in apparel sector before 90s. Now we don't have these comparative advantages anymore, because Bangladesh now having comparative advantage over us as far as the apparel sector is concerned, and also the call centers or the knowledge workers are concerned. The India is having a kind of comparative advantage over us right now. These are the things that we can see as our absolute advantage. The graphite, we have the purest form of graphite here in Sri Lanka. You know this nanotechnology thing, the most important nanomaterial, the graphene, can be simply manufactured using this graphite thing. And our ilmenite resources, they are in Mullaitivu area, that can be converted into a titanium. You know, now the ilmenite is been sold around $300 per ton. If you simply transform or give kind of a value addition to this thing and transform this into a titanium oxide, the ton will be 13,000 US dollars. So this is where we can use our absolute advantage in the mineral sector to achieve our economic prosperity. Some other things like cinnamon and other spices, where we can use the biotechnology to improve our absolute advantage for our economic prosperity. But the main thing is the comparative advantage. We do have two comparative advantages. One is our geographic sweet spot or the geographic location in this region, and also the educated, healthy population with high development index, as I explained to you. What is the emerging situation? What is the context into which we are heading to? This man is called Robert D. Kaplan. He wrote a book in 2010. This book is called Monsoon, where he declared to the US government, saying that in 19th century, the most important ocean was Atlantic Ocean. The trade between North America and Europe was the most important thing when we consider the global trade or the global wealth creation. In 20th century, the most important ocean is Pacific Ocean, where Soviet Union, Japan, China, and North America, the most trade routes are there, and the economic, the center of gravity of the economic growth is there in the Pacific Ocean. He positively predicted in 21st century the Indian Ocean would be the most important ocean, and we can see his book, the Sri Lanka, is at the very middle of this ocean. That's why the US government under Obama administration, they changed their tune, they changed their foreign policy, saying that their new strategy was, as declared by President Obama, pivoting Asia. And they entered into a new agreement, we called it Trans-Pacific Partnership. Right? This is the, all these things, the aviation routes. Next, please. The global maritime shipping routes, all there in the Indian Ocean. And the new initiative by the Chinese government in 2015, the new president initiated the $1 trillion project called One Belt, One Road. That is to integrate the European countries and the eastern part of Africa with South Indian countries and with the Pacific region countries by sea route and by land route. Now from Shanghai to London, the new train only take just 14 days, right? And they are building up various ports, airports, railway lines, economic corridors, etc. 1 trillion worth of projects. Recently, the Chinese president was there in Italy. Italy was the first country which joined this One Belt, One Road initiative. Other thing is that, you know, this axis, the Indo-Pacific Partnership Project. Now basically it's India, Japan and Australia. Some other countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore is joining this thing, and we also can get advantage from this partnership as well. So our geographic location, if we properly use our ports, airports and other aviation and maritime business related institutions, we can simply transform our country into a high income territory. You know, in Singapore, the port related activities, their contribution is around 17% to the GDP. Our port related activities just contributed 0.5%. 0.5% to the GDP. That's the problem of ours. In 1950, no Singapore there. Colombo port was ranked 5th in the world. 5th in the world. So we are losing our strategic situation to the Dubai and Singapore. At least now we have to develop our ports and airports to achieve high income levels. The other thing, the knowledge worker, the learned, healthy population. How do you going to exploit that situation? As you know, you all know that the Industrial Revolution, they are in the Europe basically, and started there in the Manchester province in England. From 1760 to 1860, we called it machine age. That means the mere muscle power being replaced by machines. Steam engines, electricity was invented, and machines replaced the mere muscle power of the society. In 1860 to 1960, we called it fossil fuel age because the gas, oil and coal replaced the natural fuels used by the machines at that stage. Now, in 1960, 85% of the global economic activities were due to the fossil fuels. Now it's around 80%. Still 80%, very important, this fossil fuel age. From 1960 to 2010, we called it information age because the data storage using computers and data transmission. It has actually revolutionized the world economy and the data storage and data communication. That's why we called it information age. And 2010 onwards, we called it smart age. What happens there in the smart age? Lot of technological streams: nanotechnology, biotechnology, gene technology, robotics, then the artificial intelligence. We call these technologies as disruptive technologies. These disruptive technologies, they are having their own synergies and they revolutionize the entire world. You can see these things. Move to other things. You can see the knowledge worker. Here in Sri Lanka, around the IT professional, as far as the IT professional is concerned, this thing is around 900, whereas there in United States is 8,000. So you can use this creative, relatively cheap knowledge worker to achieve our own economic these things. So we have to move from this apparel sector to the knowledge worker to achieve our economic gains. These are the new, the giants. Earlier, the Shell or BP or the gas, oil or coal companies, and and weapons and other things, especially the medicine and all that. These companies dominated this world. Now the information related companies, the $1 trillion US companies like Facebook, Google, Netflix, Alibaba, Amazon, Tencent, and things like that. And these companies actually now govern the world. And mere new innovation may lead to another disruptive technology and another $1 trillion US company. So we have to enter into this new stream to achieve our own economic target. And at the vision and strategy towards a future we dream, and we should use our geo-economic and geopolitical benefits of the location and the knowledge-based, innovation-driven economic growth, capitalize on the 20 million brains rather than worrying about 20 million mouths to feed, capitalize on the fourth industrial revolution, that is there in smart age, harness the potential of sustainable urbanization. I think you know this picture. The urban population officially declared as 18%, but it's now around 40%. Sri Lanka is now becoming an urban country rather than a village or the other type of primordial country. And this is our National Physical Plan. Dr. Jagat Munsinga led the team, and the main economic corridor from western province to the eastern province, from Colombo to Trincomalee. Why? From Trincomalee, you can open up our country to the China, Far East, Bangladesh, and Myanmar, Thailand, as Mr. Robert Kaplan clearly predicted. From western part of the country, you can open up our country to the Central Asia, even the Africa. Now the most important continent is Africa. Its population is becoming 1 billion by 2030. And also the economic growth is over 6%. It's a scramble as far as the European coined this idea when they invaded Africa, the scramble. A new scramble is happening there in Africa. Over 6% of the economic growth and 1 billion population there in Africa. Very close to Sri Lanka. Very close to Sri Lanka. So the Central Asian countries, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and other countries, and from the other corridor, from Galle to Tissa Maharama, you can open up international maritime routes plus the aviation routes, and from Jaffna to Kilinochchi, and from Walachane to Ampara. These four are the main economic corridors that we envisage to achieve that 12,000 per capita income level. If we are doing properly, if we are implement properly this national physical plan, in next 2-3 decades time, we expect we can achieve this economic target by way of changing, by way of transforming our built environment. You know this Western Megapolis plan, the port city, central business district around Bere Lake, then this Aero City close to the airport, and the Maritime City from Kolpiti Junction to the Dehiwala, logistic corridor connecting port and airport, basically they are in Kerolapiti area, Tech City in and around adjacent to the outer periphery road, close to the from Malambe to Homagama, administrative city there in Patharmulla area, one industrial city in Mirigama, other industrial city in close to the Homagama area in Horana, and we have not implemented this forest city close to Matugama area, or the plantation city, we planned it but not implemented, and the transport initiative. I think Palita explained to you about the railway modernization project, and I think Mr. Vijay Shekhara or the other person will explain about the LRT systems, and also the solid waste management projects we have undertaken. Port city. Nihal is here. We have completed the reclamation work, and we will commence our physical works in this year. We have already identified 4 land blocks to be developed. One for the financial city buildings, other one for the international school, international hospital, and international convention hall. The Tech City Omagama, we are trying to promote nanotechnology. We have already established a nanotechnology initiative there. The biotechnology, we have already initiated that. And aerospace technology under the Arthur C. Clarke the institution. And we will be having a first receiving station and the first nano satellite this year with the help of UNSCAP and the Chinese government. And the material technology improvements, as I told you about these graphite and all these things, building technology, robotics, information technology, and I must say that we have already established 17 science-related institutions and also the Science Museum, Incubation Center for startups. These are the constructions. And the important thing is this the central business district in and around Berry Lake, close to the multimodal transport hub. I think Srimanta is here, and our friend from France is here. They will explain to you about this new initiative there in the PETA area to establish a big multimodal hub to connect all these transport options. This is the place there in the D.R. Vijayawardena Mawatha and the Vauxhall Street, the shanties. We have cleared around 1,000 shanties and we have given them a decent housing. Now we are strengthening the banks of the Berry Lake, and also dredging process is going on. We hope that within next year's time we can change the environment there in the Berry Lake, and land parcels have been already identified for development. The challenge, the most important thing as far as the middle class people are concerned, that is our congestion pressures. You know, in 1950, the experts are here, our vehicle fleet is around 5,000. Population is 8 million. Now the population is 22 million. Vehicle fleet is around 8 million. From 5,000 to 8 million. Right? So you can't address this problem by way of widening road, elevated road, introducing expressway. You can't solve this problem. You know, now in CMC area, around 16% roads. Right? You can't widen or you can't have elevated road around Colombo or the other. We are a very highly populated country, and our population density is very high. We are a small country. This is not America, USA or Russia or Australia or Canada. You can't promote all these roads. Unfortunately, from 2004 to 2016, we have adopted the strategy to improve our road network. We heavily invested on road network. As far as our capital expenditure is concerned, 45% of our capital expenditure simply wasted to improve our road network. But we would not be able to solve our congestion problem by way of spending our money there in the road network. So this is the Enrique Peñalosa, former mayor of Bogota, Colombia. He solved the problem there in the Bogota, globally renowned for his famous intervention in public transport. He once said, a developed country is not a place where the poor have cars. It's where the rich ride public transportation. This would be the motto for us if you are going to solve the congestion problem here in Sri Lanka. I think later on our people will explain to you the LRT system, Palita also explained about you the railway modernization system. This is the one the JICA has chosen to develop from Kaduyala to Colombo city. And bus priority routes. We are now operating 40 kilometers of bus priority routes. Our next aim is to introduce bus rapid transit system plus some internet connected bus controlling system. We called it Sahasara. This is the new thing, we called it Multimodal Transport Hub. This Sunday we will open this new multimodal transport hub close to Makumbura, connecting rail network with 138 route, high level road. And we are now constructing one in Kadawata as well. And we are acquiring lands to develop another one in 18th mile post Katunayaka, and big one there in Battaramulla and Peta area as well. The administrative city, in 1985, the government declared Battaramulla as their administrative city, and few government institutions were relocated and re-established there in Battaramulla area. Now the UDA have identified the 113 institutions which are now operating there in the Colombo city limit, and we are going to put up few high rises to shift all these government institutions to the Battaramulla area. We called it administrative city at the UDA's expenses, not a single cent from the government. Maritime City, now the NARA is doing its feasibility from Kollupiti junction to the Dehiwala. We are going to reclaim another 160 hectares of land for commercial purposes from Kollupiti to Dehiwala. The problems or the these problems because of the messy urbanization, flood, the waste, congestion, shanties and things like that. The waste management system, the drainage system, flood control systems was totally neglected during last 3-4 decades. Now our ministry under the Colombo Strategic City Development Project with the help of World Bank now developing, constructing new tunnels and other things to mitigate the flood problem. The ADB is funding Colombo Municipal Council to improve the sewage system, and the water board is I think redoing all the water pumps and the pipe systems there in the Colombo city. That way the underground systems will be ready for the next development of the Colombo city. And waste management, it's a big burning problem here. Simple slogan is Colombo Kunu Apite. That's the slogan, that's the political thing. Apijande denne Colombo Kunu Genawa. That we can hear from everywhere. And we have witnessed very tragic situation there in Meetotamulla in 2017, and lot of waste dumps in and around Colombo, including Putla. This is where we intervened in 2017 July. Lot of dengue cases, people were dying, and our ministry was tasked to handle this problem, and we successfully handled the problem and solve the problem there in the Colombo Municipal Council area, temporarily I mean. We have established a temporary semi-scientific waste management system there in Kerolapitiya, and also new collection systems for the Colombo Municipal Council. And the underserved families. 50,000 shanties and slum dwellers living in Colombo. Now various governments were trying to address this problem. Till 2015, only 10,000 new houses being constructed for the underserved families. But during last 3 years, we were able to develop 15,000 new housing units and our plan is to develop 40,000 by 2024, eliminating all the shanties and slum dwellers from the Colombo Municipal Council limits. And also the new housing projects undertaken by UDA for the middle income people like you. We have now initiated, I think, 4 new initiatives trying to develop or build another 5,000 housing units for the middle income people. This is the financial progress of the UDA. There in 2015, the total revenue is 2,236 million. Now it is 4,800. And profit is around 300 million. Now it is 1,200. And this is how the state institution should earn. It's my principle. Whenever, anywhere I am assumed as a minister, whether it is CEB, petroleum, or the Timber Corporation, or the UDA, or the SLRDC, I converted all these institutions into a profit-making institution. The government should do their own businesses. It should not burden our people. It should not, burden to the national economy as well. This is the SLRDC's balance sheet. The total revenue in 2015 is 2,500. Now it is 7,800, nearly tripled within just 3 years span. It's a big achievement. Not a single institution in this country achieved that kind of progress during the last 3 years' time. This is the water usage. We have doubled the water usage income as well, and a lot of new investment from the water usage. I think we must take a new initiative, the scientific approach for the governance. We have popular governance principle. Hal seru deka denawa, ata nikan andun denawa. That's the popular governance system. And democratic governance means basically what people ask, we simply deliver. Scientific governance is we have to have a proper scientific based plan, and we have to implement it. That's what our ministry's aim. We have now already prepared a national physical plan and proper plans for the Western Province, proper plans for the Colombo city and other cities, and by way of implementing all these things properly in a scientific manner, we think we can achieve this prosperity, and our children will happily live in this country forever. I thank you.